Hello and welcome to the Fenland Chatter. I'm producer Dave and we're joined by our usual co-host Amanda Carlin.
Hello, producer Dave.
And we're also joined today by Jodie Hicks.
Hello.
Today, this is Thursday the 30th of April 2020 and this is episode 14.
Yay!
So, slightly different. We've got Jodie on today because we're going to ask some questions. Something that we started working on is a thing called the Fenland Film Initiative. We're kind of looking at media as a whole within the Fenland area because we feel that, as we've certainly found with the podcast, it's something that is severely lacking. Jodie is the producer of the project and I'm the director. But I thought it'd be interesting that we would get Amanda to actually run the questions for a change. So Amanda is going to lead. Not that you've been prepped with any questions or anything like that, but
no, I can confirm I have no idea what's about to be asked.
So what I'll do is I will hand over to you, Amanda. I mean, we will talk through anyway. We'll go through as much as we can, but we'll let you steer to start with.
Okay. Hello, Jodie.
Hello. All right.
It's lovely to meet you.
And you.
Thank you. You and David are working together. You're collaborating. How was your collaboration formed?
So many moons ago, when David was brought into my youth theatre to film like some webisodes, to do some comedy with us, and then I went off to uni and did other things, but we kind of kept in contact. And then when I came back to this area, we kind of, from time to time, will work on various things. I mean, we've been working on the script for a few years now, so, and alongside that, I'll help him film stuff when he needs an extra pair of hands, and we'll just try and do some projects together in this area. And yeah,
that sounds good. So the project you're working on at the moment, what's it about?
So essentially it's something we've researched quite a bit about, which is stuff, so some issues pertaining to like our area, so in particular around Wisbech, so like Operation Pheasant, like illegal gang masters, HMOs, which are like houses of multiple occupation, and also drug misuse and some knife crime as well. So the story kind of follows two teenagers who attend a rave and it goes wrong, and then they end up on the run and they come into contact with characters and situations which bring and all of those kind of issues to like to the forefront, really, to kind of raise awareness of what's going on in our area, because we do have problems but no one knows that much about it. So yeah,
it does sound very gritty. So,
yes.
You've got a lot to do. I just want to clarify, what is your role in the project, Jodie?
So I've kind of got a few different ones. So I'm producing it. I've worked with David on the script, kind of like helping like edit and stuff. And then also I'm producing it, which means like I'm working with him to work for like the advertising, marketing, trying to find funding, bringing lots of creatives together. And I'm also playing the lead role as well. So yeah, it's quite a big undertaking, but
yeah, it's going to take up a lot of your life doing
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it has so far.
Yeah, I can imagine. So David, what's your role in this?
As Jodie mentioned, I wrote the script. It was something that it caught my attention a few years ago, and felt that there's something that wasn't being picked up. So I took the chance of actually writing this, and it's kind of become more mainstream, more up front in the media. So we certainly knew we were on the right thing. And then also now working with Jodie within the organisation, trying to set up this the marketing side of it and the promotions and funding as well. So it's very much a team effort just to try and sort of build and develop this project.
So has the project got a name?
The film we're working title is the Fenlands, but our whole kind of thing we set up is the Fenland Films Initiative. It's like an umbrella thing where we're hoping to create not just the film but other projects as well under that name.
That sounds really good. That sounds really good. So the storyline, David, where did your inspiration come from?
It came about from when I actually started researching it. It was as I read the stories in the papers and talking to some people, there seemed to be elements that were happening in particular towns. So Wisbech had a set of problems, March had a set of issues. So I kind of based the story that it was like a road movie that would go from somewhere between Chatteris and March at the start with this illegal rave, and then they're then on the run across Fenland, going through Wisbech, encountering sort of some of the problems and issues that are located around the Fenland area, around the Wisbech area itself, and then heading up towards the coast. So it's just following these people as they go through a series of events, as they go, trying to document a lot of the sort of the issues like knife crime and things as they go through, sort of highlighting these issues, bringing these things to awareness. But yeah, all the stories that we've picked up are genuine stories that have happened to people, and they're sort of based them on the events as opposed to the people. They're actually basing them on the events that have happened. So we can say, this knife attack happened, and this drug problem happened, and this rave happened. They are things that are fixed in this area.
Yeah, that sounds fascinating. So, Jodie, are you learning new skills in doing this project?
Absolutely, because I come from a more theatre acting background, so more on the stage. So this is something quite new for me, because although I have done some little projects before, but this is the first time I'll be as a producer rather than just being in it. So I've done some stuff already, because I've never really gone too deep into funding and looking for funding bodies and how on earth we're going to try and get this off its feet, and working on a script that's full length rather than just have say a theatre script that you just work off of. It's something that's kind of changing and adapting, and I've never worked on something that's so long before, because you usually just get the project, you work on it for a few months and then it's done, whereas this has been something that we've picked up and put down for years and years, and I think it will only continue to challenge me, and I can learn new skills that way. So I'm not finished yet. I think there's going to be lots of things that I'm going to be doing which I've never done before, but I'm excited for that.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
And that's the thing. Exciting. And that's the thing about small films, is that when you have a small group of people, everyone then takes on multiple roles as well. Yes. So yeah, you might be a producer or a director or an actor, but then the next day you're also a runner, or you're a supporter, or you're the mic operator, the boom holder. So there's lots of, the idea is that everyone then just mucks in anyway, and will learn skills on the job on the job as they develop the film itself.
So, David, given that, are there opportunities for other people to get involved with this project?
There is. We're kind of developing the core group, the production side. So we're looking for cameramen. We have one cameraman on board already, but we would also be looking for secondary, B-roll cameramen and sound recordists, and then we'd be looking for things like editors, special effects, graders, musicians, hairstylists, makeup, and we've got elements of I know that's a dirty word at the moment, hairstylists, that's it. But certainly all the elements that you would find in a normal feature film, we have people who we've already spoken to and got in touch with already, and we have the rest of the cast that we will need once we've finalised the script. We're in the final state. I mean, we've got it. We're just nailing it down and just making sure that everything works. But once we've done that, then we'll need about 30 actors as well. So we've got Jodie and Glenn, who are the two main characters, the two lead characters in the story. But we'll be looking for policemen, we'll be looking for doctors, we'll be looking for people at the rave to take part. And then there are European actors that would love to get involved with to play the parts of the migrants who are here. So we're not looking just for local British people. And the idea is that it's predominantly looking at Fenland-based actors and actresses and cast and crew members. But we also realise that we've got people coming in from the migrants who are coming in from Europe. So we would be looking for people from those countries who have some acting ability or would like to be actors to take on those roles.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'd like to add that we're not necessarily looking for people that are, say, established either. We'd like to people who are maybe looking into this industry in this area that haven't had the chance to work on, say, a production like this. It might be good to branch out, and we're looking for people kind of all abilities and skills to kind of just bolster our ranks really, and make it a really kind of community driven and thing, bring people together really, and network and get people in our area working with other people in our area that they wouldn't normally have met or worked with. So
yeah,
that sounds really exciting.
I mean, I can talk a little bit more about the initiative. I mean, Jodie mentioned it. We're talking about an umbrella organisation. It's a project umbrella. So the idea is it's looking at all media in the Fenland area. So we're looking at film. So we're starting off with the film, but we're also looking at video production. We're also looking at music videos. We're also looking at podcasting and other kind of radio productions as well, radio shows, because there is a severe lack of it. I mean, the idea is that at least if we have some kind of hub for media, then people can come to us and go, right, I need to work with such and such, or I need an artist, I need a musician, and then hopefully we can start building up a central group where people can then work with each other, or they can work with us, they can do their own projects. But we as a group can then showcase each other's projects, and instead of one person sharing their stuff, it's a group of people sharing each other's stuff. So that's the idea, so we get a better recognition for our work and talent.
That's good. That's very good. So in regards to the film, that's how you see the project spreading out, isn't it? But in regards to the film, have you thought about locations for filming?
We've already kind of looked for some places, the locations. We've scouted some, but because a lot of it will take place, say, on the disused rail tracks between March and Wisbech, which are real. So we've already been looking out for some of those places where we potentially host the big rave, which kind of kicks off the drama as well. So yeah, and it's just a case of contacting the relevant people, seeing what we can do to film there, or what we can do instead of filming there. And because sometimes the reality is that you just don't have permission to do so it's kind of getting creative and okay, we can't use this place, what can we do instead? So we're kind of in the process of working that out at the moment. So
that's interesting. I do know where the rave was. I can remember it because we had a workshop just around the corner.
Oh wow, yeah.
At the time. I know who owns that workshop. I mean that warehouse.
Yeah, it's
friends in high places.
Yeah, it's some of the places that we're struggling or will struggle. The idea was to try and get hold of a hospital wing to actually do film, or maybe like a training college, film there. But obviously, the way things have gone at the moment, that's going to be completely out of not really be an option. So it's a case of, do we make one? Do we actually make something that resembles a hospital ward with a couple of beds and stuff? So that is one possibility, but then that's extra cost, But so we basically had to make the decision that we were going to push back the whole start of the project a year, because that was going to be the only way. We've talked about fundraising. There's going to be next to no money out there anyway. The charities are going to be running out of money because they're helping everybody else out, and the charities commissions like the lottery and stuff aren't going to be funding projects outside their sort of core element at the moment to try and get people through the coronavirus. And people volunteering donations, a lot of it's going into NHS and key workers and supporting them. So trying to join in and say, can you give us some money is very difficult. And we know that's going to be tough. So we kind of gone, well, there's no point actually starting asking for money as a main project, as a main drive for at least 6 to 9 months, because there isn't any, there isn't going to be anything. But we have set up a Patreon page to start with, which is going to be for the actual the film initiative itself. And if people wish to support the entirety of the project, then we've got a couple of tiers where people can support. I think it's like $3 or $5 a month, so it's not a lot. But if we have a few people in there just sponsoring us each month, that all does help for sort of the administration. And then when we actually come to the film or a specific project, then we'll be looking at something like a GoFundMe, Indiegogo, crowdfunding, a Kickstarter, or something like that for each specific project. So we're then raising money. But then hopefully, we're also open to sponsorship as well. So, if people give us money, then we can then do the projects. So it works, and then we can then pay the actors, because we don't want people just to come in and go. We want to, we're not expecting people just to volunteer their time. And I've had the people that I've spoken to already have said, it's either we all work voluntary, or we all get paid,
Yes.
And that's the kind of attitude that we're kind of looking at. So if we're starting off, we're going, right, we're all in this together. No one gets paid. We do this for the love of it. If we get funding, then the idea is we try and pay everybody the rates that are established. We try and do that, but we've got to be realistic about, we will talk to people as they come on board and explain the situation of what they can expect.
Well, it all sounds fascinating. It really does. I can't wait to see what you make, and I'd like to come along and have a look. I think it would be really good. I'd bring a cake.
Oh,
that's it. Victoria sponge, please, if I can get my order in.
Yes.
Or a chocolate gatto.
Yeah.
No, but that's it. I mean, there's going to be lots of sort of extra parts, people walking past, non-speaking roles where, even if someone's, nurses or additional staff or just members of the public, just to, for walking around, we're going to need extras at some point. So yeah, if you fancy being involved, if you want to just be an extra, then we're quite happy to cater for that. If you want to be an actor with a talking role, then we can do that. If you want to be on the cast and the crew, then we can cater for that as well.
I'd be happy just to bring my cake and watch you all, because I think it's amazing seeing a production put together and all the steps that you go through. It's time consuming. It takes a lot of commitment, and it's fascinating, all the different facets that are involved in it.
I mean, that's something that we're just talking about as some of the rewards that people could have when we're actually doing the crowdfunding. And that would be, someone could actually be a character in the film. They could actually have a cameo walk-on part if they are in the area. They could have their name referred to in the film or whatever production. So there's lots of elements that we can then bring people in. And even just a chance just to come and spend a day with the crew, just seeing what's happening. Because they say there's so many fans. I mean, I would love to spend a day watching another film production going, because you can learn so much. And there's lots of avid filmmakers and who are starting off small, who just want to see what the next step is up in production.
Yeah, and I have to get Jodie's autograph.
It might be worth something later. Yeah.
Brilliant.
I'll sell you a few.
Yeah, it will be on eBay. No.
I like your thinking there. Yeah.
I suppose with the hospital scenes, we have got some closed hospitals, though, haven't we? We've got Papworth and before it gets knocked down.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things I need to do is speak to the governing bodies in Cambridge, who coordinate all activities in the hospitals in the area. So for media press releases and I think utilisation of facilities as well, it seems to be speaking to them. So we'll drop them a line and just see what's available. But like saying, it's a difficult time for the NHS, and they are kind of overwhelmed at the moment. So it's kind of, how do we approach it? When do we pick our right time to do this?
Very good point. Very good point. Everything's up in the air, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, and usually the arts are one of the first to suffer, unfortunately, when with austerity and everything like that. So it is going to be, I think it's going to be a tough road for a lot of people in this industry back to normality anyway. But,
yeah, there's always been an irony in that, hasn't there? In that the arts are what provides people the most pleasure, but it's always the industry that suffers the most whenever there's a disaster of some kind.
Yeah, because if you think even now, what do you do in your day? You might read, listen to music, watch Netflix, TV. You know, your whole life in isolation is around the arts. So it is that contradiction, isn't it?
Well, yeah, we're starting. Doris. Yeah, I mean, we're even beginning to see we're running out of programs on television. Yes. You know, we're starting repeats now of programs 2 or 3 times a day, and most of the production companies in America and the UK have had to cease productions. Off the top of my head, you know, we've got Stranger Things. Everything has been suspended. Witcher has been suspended. You know, there are so many big shows that have either had to end their series early or suspend it until later in the year. I think Walking Dead as well, they've had to postpone their big finale to later on until they can get everyone together again. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and a lot of film crew and production crew are just being put on furlough, and they can't do anything because there's nothing to do. So yeah, it is difficult within the media. The media and the arts have suffered, and the knock-on effect is in a couple of months' time there is going to be next to nothing, which is when things like this, you know, these kind of shows, YouTube productions, you know, small independent stuff is going to become more mainstream. People are going to be searching out programs on YouTube and series and films and things because they're going to be constantly looking for new stuff.
Yeah, that's a very good point, David. And I was absolutely devastated when Made in Chelsea was called to a halt. That's the end of the hold.
Dang it.
And the cast of Love Island is still over there.
Yeah, just waiting for lockdown to end.
Yeah, they're having a bad wardrobe day.
Yes.
Well, I can think of worse places to be stranded.
Uh-huh.
Can I give a shout out to my sister on that point? My sister got home yesterday.
Yay.
Wow, where from?
Cyprus.
Cyprus.
Yes, she was really disappointed to be stuck there.
But it's all very well if you've got the bars and the restaurants and the shops open. You know, then being stuck in places like these are great. But if you're stuck in a hotel, it really doesn't matter. You could be stuck anywhere.
Well, a friend of mine, she works on yachts, and so she is based in the south of France. And so she's kind of stuck in the south of France in her house and not coming home, because as soon as it opens again, she'll need to be working and looking for a yacht to go on. So she's kind of stuck there. And I feel sorry for the people like that who can't necessarily, you know, come home when, you know, work is reliant on them being there. And stuff changes so quickly, you know, laws change and come and go, and it's keeping up with it all, isn't it? And making sure you're doing the right things.
Yes, these are very strange times, aren't they?
Unprecedented, some would say.
Oh, they would. I've never heard such an overused word in my whole life.
Yeah, definitely.
It sums it all up, though, doesn't it?
I don't think there was anything else. And we've done the promotions. What we'll do is we'll put links to pages, Facebook pages, and the patron sites where people can go and find out more. I mean, we are still in the process of developing them and putting content on there. So just bear with.
And if anyone's, you know, listening in that knows someone or wants to get involved or anything like that, I suppose don't hesitate to contact, say, David or myself somehow. And yeah.
There's plenty of ways to make contact.
Exactly.
There is.
Yes. Get in touch and send a CV as well if you've got one, so you can have a look.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But
yeah, I mean, we're not looking for professional actors and actresses. You know, we want people who are keen, enthusiastic, and want to start off in the industry and want to use it as a showcase and a show reel for their talents and what they can do.
So I guess you'd be interested in knowing what skills people want to learn and what skills they have already.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it would be like a collaboration rather than myself and David lording it over everyone. I doubt that's not in either of our personalities, but it's kind of like we want to just, you know, get a group together and work and collaborate and make something we're all proud of and it can help us in the future. So that's kind of why we're doing it.
I mean, if you've got someone who does social media and marketing and stuff like that, you know, that could take some of the pressure away from us trying to do everything ourselves at the start, because obviously we're having to go through the marketing campaign and advertising and promotions and stuff. So an extra person like that at the beginning would be useful as well.
Well, that's a really good point, because although a lot of people can do that and they've got the skills, it can take you all day, can't it? You can spend far too much time on social media.
You can, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, especially my generation.
Well,
and ours.
And yours, yeah.
Yes, Amanda, I'll just point out, Amanda does spend a lot of time helping to promote the Fenland Chat Hour on a lot of the discussion groups around Fenland area.
Yeah.
Which
on
is
Facebook
great.
and things, yeah.
Yeah, so it's much appreciated.
But it's my pleasure. I enjoy it. I enjoy getting the word out there.
Yeah, but it's also helpful because you get to see all the local gossip and the news to help feedback.
Absolutely. Who doesn't like a bit of gossip?
Exactly.
So, are there any other points you need to make about it, about the project?
the podcast that we're doing, we're looking at using this as like a template for one of the things. So if someone wants to do their own podcast, we can then help set them up and establish them. So we can give advice on how to go about doing this kind of stuff. We're looking, because obviously we've had to push the film back, we are looking at taking on maybe a couple of small projects that can be done in short base. So we're sort of getting some ideas for little things that we can do short term in the meantime, to one, raise the profile of the group, and also to get people to have experience, so that when we do come to the film, people are then familiar with the kit and the equipment and stuff. So it's kind of a learning process at the same time for people who want to become involved.
Yeah, because it is much more complicated than you think, setting up a podcast, isn't it?
Yeah.
So much to it. And
the difficulty is because, like, I can't come to you to do it, so it's very difficult to sort of, it takes twice as long to set up, because you're having to rely on someone else working through their end and their communication, their technology. So you're kind of having to guess what they've got, which is kind of difficult. Yes.
Okay. Jodie, it's so lovely speaking to you and finding out all about your project. It's wonderful. And David, I'm really excited about this collaboration. Please do, when you get there, invite me along to bring my chocolate cake and Victoria sponge.
Brilliant.
I'll hold you to that.
Yeah,
it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Jodie.
Absolutely. It's been great. It's been a change.
We shall now go on to the news and updates. What I've found so far is, obviously, they're now in talks with ending the lockdown, and they're trying to sort of track down a lot of the problems that could arise from that. And obviously, they're finding it a lot more, or it can be quite problematic. And some of the things when they're talking about schools going back, and they're talking about the underground going back, what sort of impact it would have with the underground, because they know as soon as they open the doors, it's going to be absolutely rammed. With schools, one of the things that they're talking about is doing like a 2-week rota. So 1 week, half the class go to school, or half the classes, and then the other second week they do the same program, but the second half of the class. So if you've got a class of 30, only 15 would sit in the class to try and reduce the amount.
We spoke about that last night.
Yeah.
On the governor's meeting, and it's interesting because even a school the size of Neil Wade, which is massive, really, they could only have 10 children per class in at any one time to keep up with social distancing. So I don't know how they're going to manage.
Yeah, it is a big challenge, because a lot of countries are aware that if they don't do it right, it's going to start up again. And it's trying to get people to realise that if we do it, we've got to do it slowly. So there's going to be a lot more. We'll try and keep people up to date on what is happening and who's allowed to do what, because it's going to be a very sensitive time, and everybody's going to want to get back out and doing things.
Do you think so? Do you think people really are chomping at the bit to get back out? I can understand
some people are. There are some people. I mean, I was watching it. I don't know if it's just America, but they were talking to I think he was a haulage guy in in New York, and he was like, I don't really care. We're all going to get coronavirus. We're all going to die. But I just want to get on and open my business. And I know that is a lot of people's, well, not a lot of people, but certainly there are some people with that kind of mentality. where they don't really care about anybody else. They just want to get the businesses back up and running. You know, and it's tough, and I know that's not the reflection of everybody else. You know, like you say, a lot of people are going to be quite nervous about going back to work and going back into public spaces, and it will be tough. But we've got some excellent news. Princes that make little fishy tins and various other product, water as well. They are based, or the ones based in Wisbech and Long Sutton. They've 500,000 products to communities, things like NHS and food banks and other charities around the world, to ensure that food supplies and water reach those that need it.
That's amazing.
Big shout out and congratulations to them. Yes, we've lost all the postal deliveries on the Saturday as well. Fenland District Council have or will be starting public meetings online next week. They're certainly starting with the planning committees next Wednesday, the 6th of May. Will be broadcast live on the council's YouTube channel, so if you want to watch, then you're looking at youtube.com/user/Fenland Council. But I'm sure if you just type in Fenland Council into the search, you'll find it. I'm sure there'll be links as well on the Fenland District website.
Kind of a shout out to a kebab and barbecue and pizza house in Wisbech. It's a best kebab barbecue and pizza house at Neen Key in Wisbech, where they've been giving out hundreds of meals for free to frontline workers during the outbreak. So they've been giving free meals, about 400 free meals so far in the region to key workers. And that's my news. Have you got anything?
Yes. Today is Captain Tom Moore, or Colonel Tom Moore. It's his 100th birthday.
Yay!
Yay! So there's a call to give him a 2-minute silence this evening, and the suggestion is to go out at 8 for a 2-minute silence for Captain Tom, then do the clap for the NHS, and then, if you can sing, I can't, do a rendition of Happy Birthday for Tom Moore. That's all I have for news.
Okay. What about Doris? What's Doris got to say today?
Right. Okay. Doris is talking today. She's talking about the safe disposal of waste should you have symptoms of coronavirus. She asks if waste can be placed in a plastic rubbish bag and tied when full, and the plastic bag should then be placed in a second bin bag and tied, stored securely and keep separate from other waste for 72 hours, and waste should not be stored in communal waste areas. After 72 hours, place the bag in your external general waste bin. And Doris is also asking people to remember, when you put your bins out, please wash your hands before you go to put them out, and wipe the bin handle down. Take it out, wipe the bin handle down when you bring it back in again. So that protects you and it protects the refuse collectors.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't stop other people going along at night and touching the bins either.
No, it doesn't.
So, and that's the other thing, is you don't know who else is touching those bins.
No.
So,
very good point.
So look after yourselves and just make sure you are cleaning stuff down. Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that we talked about. We talked about the disposal because they are a potential biohazard.
Yes.
And we talked about if people did have masks, they would then have to dispose of them correctly. And that's the thing, is that you have to remember that these things are dangerous. You know, these are toxic, effectively. You know, once they're used and they've got the germs in it, they are a biohazard that, like you say, it needs to be left for 72 hours so it dies. You know, and it's 72 hours after the last piece has gone into that bag as well. Not just opening the bag and put stuff in and then adding a couple of more bits and then a couple of days and then that's fine. It has to be 72 hours after the last item has gone into that bag and it is sealed. And then it's probably worth actually marking, because if you're going through the process, so you're actually binning stuff on a regular basis, you're going to have to mark it and go bag 1, day 1, 72 hours, and put the date on it. And then the next bag, the next day, 72 hours. And if you put the date for the delivery or to actually bin, so dispose on this day, dispose on this day for the second one, dispose on this day for the third one, then at least someone won't just come along and just pick them all up and throw them in the bin. So at least you've got to go into a cycling process of storing waste and then disposing of it at the right time.
Yes. It's very serious, actually, isn't it?
It is. I mean, they were talking about yesterday with the dentists, the ones that are open and just open for mainstream operations, so you know, major injuries and major surgeries. But they were talking about, you know, after each person, it takes 40 minutes to decontaminate the whole process, the whole room. You know, everything's scrubbed down, everything's cleaned, the floors are swept and mopped between every single patient. You know, and they're taking this very, very seriously as well. So, you know, if they're doing it, then, you know, we need to be taking this seriously as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, is that everything from Doris today?
It is, yes. Thank you.
What we'll do is we'll just mention that we are looking at the Drawing Doris competition, the picture competition. I saw that you'd put a mention on Facebook about that. So what we'll do is we'll establish all the criteria for Monday, with all the rules and. But yeah, if you just maybe have some practice sketches now or something like that. Some sneaky drawings now, but yeah, we'll open it up on Monday with terms and conditions and what we can offer as a prize and things like that. So all the dates and criteria and stuff, and we'll do that for Monday.
Yeah, some people have said they'll have a go.
That's brilliant. That is brilliant news. Okay, so the daily stats. Yeah, I had a bit of a shock yesterday when I looked.
Yes.
So the world number of cases has just passed 3.25 million. Number of cases in the UK is standing at 165,221, and that's as of yesterday. And the number of deaths has now been recalculated to 26,097, because it's now been adjusted to take into account those that are dying in care homes and at home. And obviously there's a big issue about collecting the data and adding it, and how do you add it properly. So that's basically jumped from 21,000 to 26. And we're now third in the world for the number of deaths.
Yes.
We are fifth in the number of cases, but we're about 2,000 behind France, and we'll go into fourth place probably at least by the end of today. So, you know, as like we're saying, we keep talking about this, you know, when are people going to start taking this seriously? And it's what does annoy me though is everyone is very quick to blame the government and say, oh, it's the government's fault, they didn't do this, they didn't do that. Well, blame aside, okay, they may not have done things right, and that goes with a lot of countries, that they haven't handled it properly. But you can't blame the government for every single one of those 26,000 deaths. We just have to look back to the scenes where people were packed in on the underground. There were people congregating in parks, in flats. We've got the parties that are being broken up. People are meeting and going to, well, it was like the National Trust, their first day, then everyone descended, and people weren't adhering to isolation distancing. So you can't just blame the government because of one particular thing. We all have to have collective responsibility, because a lot of people were ignoring the rules that were set down of, if you're isolating, stay home, keep your distance, don't have parties, don't meet together, keep the distancing, and don't go out if necessary. And people are still ignoring it. And these are on people's, will have to be on people's conscience, that they have gone out and they have potentially passed on this to someone else.
People are still visiting other people's houses where they don't live. It's happening a lot. That's breaking the lockdown rules, and we need to stick to the spirit of lockdown if we're going to get over it. And I completely agree with you, David. There is no point blaming the government for things that we could prevent the spread of this virus if we just think differently and help. I mean, I'm really quite bad. I'm forgetting to wash my hands enough. And when this was first, news, I was manic about washing my hands, and almost to the point of them bleeding. So that was ridiculous, obviously. But I've got my husband was good. He got me some hand sanitizer to put in the car. That's really handy, because the first thing I see as I open the car door is the hand sanitizer. So I'll put it on. When I arrive, I'll put it on. When I get home, I'll put it on. And when I get in, I will wash my hands. It's throughout the day I'm forgetting.
I think, to be honest, as long as you're not actually coming in contact with anything else, if you're clean in the morning and you're not going out and you're not touching anything, then it shouldn't be too much of an impact, other than just general cleanliness. It's only when you start going near the front door or near the back door or windows or anywhere that is in contact with other people, then that's when you kind of need to make sure you make the effort to sanitize, to clean, and to take precautions.
Absolutely. And I have started doing what Doris advised, and I just have one journey in a car a week now. So that's for essential shopping, picking up neighbours' shopping for them that are vulnerable, and getting prescriptions for people. So, and my fuel top up, bought £2 of it.
Yes. I mean, I'm only going out shopping and collecting stuff when required. If we can't get a slot on the shopping delivery slots, the delivery slots. If that's not available, then I've got to go out and do the shopping. So I try and keep it down to a minimum. We all do have to take responsibility. We all have to be accountable for it. We can't just blame one group of people who can't. We are becoming a nanny state. And people saying, "Oh, we need to be told what to do." Well, you've been told what to do, and you're not doing it. And
I think also, whilst we're talking about the government, I have to say, I forgot this. Congratulations to Boris and Carrie on the birth of their baby boy.
Yes, congratulations.
That was lovely news, wasn't it?
It was. It was
slightly unexpected.
Yeah, I mean, you know, whatever your thoughts, you know, he's a daddy now, and you know, it's a big thing for him, and to cope with that at the time when he's trying to look after a country as well. So, just going back to the figures, we've now started looking at stadiums and just done a comparison. I mean, this has been a massive jump from 21,000 that we mentioned on the last, and that's just because new figures are coming in. But if we look at the next stadium in the UK that could actually hold 26,000, we're looking at Selhurst Park, which is in London, and that's the home for Crystal Palace FC, which has a capacity of 26,309, and that would be the next stadium that would actually hold. So, you know, so Old Trafford wouldn't cope.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
That's amazing. That's a lot of people. Very sad.
Yeah. And we've got some big names coming up soon, so we'll see how that fares. So yeah, that's, you know, we've all got to be responsible, and we all have to play our part and do what we're asked to when we're asked to. Okay, shall we have a rural roundup? Have you got some local news to?
Yes. I've got some interesting requests, actually. The British Horse Society, they're urging members of the public not to dispose of grass clippings, garden waste or other foodstuffs in fields where horses are grazing.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a natural thing to do if your brown bin's full up or you don't subscribe to the brown bin service. Because horses have very sensitive digestive systems, and eating anything other than their normal diets can have serious health implications.
Yeah, it can.
So that's something to consider. Cambridgeshire Music, they have put a video together. They've got 50 of their musicians, and they're playing Hawaii 5-0.
Oh, yes.
The soundtrack.
Yes, I saw the link to that. I haven't listened to it yet, but I did see the link. I was going to mention that was going to be one of my mentions, but you beat me to it.
Oh, sorry, David.
That's all right.
I think it's brilliant. It's very good.
And it's a great song as well.
Oh, it is, isn't it? Yes, I can't sing. Okay. Ely's Minor Injuries Unit has extended its opening hours from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday to Sunday. This is for during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And it's now open for x-rays from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And you don't have to have an appointment to go.
Okay.
But if you have any symptoms of COVID-19, please call NHS 111. So that's NHS 111, and you will be told how to progress. I think it's an idea to say what some of the symptoms are, don't you, David? Because I don't think everybody knows.
Yeah, do you have them to hand?
Well, what I can remember is it's a dry cough.
Yeah.
A difference in your sense of taste and smell.
That's a secondary. Yeah, if you've
Apparently
lost.
A lot of people have it.
They are beginning to get. A lot more people are beginning to get it, and that's one of the. It's the dry cough, the temperature, the flu-like symptoms. But it's the temperature which is the big one, and the shortness of breath as well. That was the breathing one is the main thing that separates this from a cold and flu, is the shortness of breath, and then they said the secondary thing is that people have discovered that they have lost. They haven't had some of the other issues, but they have lost the sense of smell and taste, and that's now kind of been recognised as one of the symptoms.
And people are describing when they're breathing, it feels like they have broken glass.
Yeah.
Not broken glass. I think yes, it is. It's broken glass. That's the description.
Yeah.
Previously, when I've heard people talk about flu, they've said razor blades.
Yeah.
But broken glass is something I heard this morning.
Okay.
With brown bin collections, going back to the bins again.
Yeah.
The shift patterns are changing for the refuse collectors. So to avoid missing having your brown bin emptied, please make sure it's out the day before, the evening before.
Yeah.
Because it will take forever to get them to come back and empty it if not.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah, that's everything.
Good. No, I've not got anything for the rules side. But with just life in general, just life in the lockdown, people are being urged to, if you can, shop locally, then utilise the shops that are open, and a lot more of the local groups are beginning to announce which shops are open in your rural area. So obviously use them first. It cuts down on travel, unnecessary travel, and it also supports those local businesses and keeps them going. Quite a few are now doing deliveries specifically, so yeah, try and support your local businesses. And something that's a news story that I saw this morning was a altercation between a tractor and an ambulance, and it's just be more mindful of ambulances, because emergency services are having to deal with an awful lot of stuff, and having grumpy drivers getting too close is not good. So if you can, just make sure you just give, wave and thank them, but mainly just to give them the space. Don't try and be difficult and make their job harder than they've already got at the moment.
I do think that's something that we've got to accept in lockdown. You can't do anything in a hurry.
No.
Nothing. You can't go out to the shops and think I'll be half an hour. It's not going to happen, because a lot of the time you've got to queue before you can get in.
Yeah.
Just don't have a timetable when it comes down to these kind of things.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I want to go to the bank, but I know that I'm going to have to give a morning, because I know I'm going to have to stand outside and queue, because it's a 1 in 1 out. But I need to know that I've got the time to go and do that. So
make sure you take your cagoule.
I will. and a thermos flask as well. Could be there for a while.
and a portable chair.
Yes. little collapsible stool to sit on. Yeah, it's make sure you've got something wet weather orientated at the moment, because if you're out there for 2 or 3 hours, you are going to get wet, you are going to get cold, you're going to get miserable, and that's when people get fractious and frustrated, and arguments and stuff like that start to kick off, and you don't need that. So just make sure that you are warm and you are dressed for the weather, for standing outside in long periods of time, and that's including comfortable shoes as well.
Yes, true.
Don't go in court shoes or high heels, and that's for the men as well. No, but seriously though, but you think about the footwear that you are you prepared to stand in one spot for 2 hours, before you actually get into the shop that you're trying to get to. So I think that's that. But just if you get to the end of the podcast and you're thinking, what else can I listen to? Something that I've been listening to is it's a BBC podcast called The Whisper in Darkness, and it's a 2-part. There's The Whisper in Darkness, and there's the case of Charles Dexter Ward, and it's just reminding me that there are a lot of audio podcasts which aren't just news but actually sort of story based and drama based, and that's something that if you haven't done so before, it's worth having a look. These particular ones are based on H.P. Lovecraft's stories and revolve around Cthulhu and some of the sort of the stories that he wrote, the science fiction stories. But because they're so atmospheric, they are very immersive. You know, they're actually I think they're almost recorded on location at a place, and it sounds very real, and it's, you know, you can hear the crunching as they're walking and stuff. So yeah, if you want to change, you know, a break from watching television and watching stuff, just to go back to actually listening to shows, podcasts and radio shows and audible books as well, because it's just a different way, and then you can lie down in your bed, close your eyes and just take yourself out of this world for 40 minutes or however how long.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah, they are good, and it's just to remind people that there are other forms of entertainment out there.
I'm not having the TV on as much as I usually do. I'm picking up more books, having a read, and I quite like the peace and quiet.
Yeah, I mean, I've not got as far as reading books yet. Unfortunately, my workload kind of precludes that, so I'm still very much TV and media driven. That's kind of taken precedence at the moment. But yeah, I can't actually remember the last time I picked up a book. It's been a while. I think probably the last one was probably the last Harry Potter book that came out.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, or around about then.
That's not a bad book to pick up, though.
I have tried reading. You know, if I've been on a plane or on the train, I do try and pick and read something, but not seriously. I don't think I've actually finished a book for a long time.
It's not for everybody.
I think, yeah, it's just running it. It's the time. I just don't have the time that I used to. When I was a student or when I was younger, I used to travel a lot. You know, I'd be sat on a train for 5-6 hours. You know, and that was my life. You know, moving up and down. So I had the time to sit and read a magazine or a book. But when you're then driving everywhere or you're working full time, you kind of your priorities shift, and things like that don't always are available. You know, people could say, yeah, I should make time, but at the moment I just don't have that time to make. You know.
No, if you don't have the time, you seriously don't have the time.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. I know, I can tell from the podcast what type of hours you keep, David, so I know you haven't got the time.
Yeah, it's and just running your own business as well. Which I know that you know, and a lot of other people who are self-employed know that the only way to make a business successful and work is to put the hours in. And you know, it's not uncommon to have a minimum of 40 hours. You know, you're looking at 50, 60 hours, and then you sit down and then you start doing your bits on Facebook and promotions and stuff on top of that as well. So you almost eat, sleep and work, repeat. You know, there is no time for anything else, certainly in the first few years.
Very true.
Yeah. And one of the things I'm working on is an art journaling video, a tutorial.
I love art journaling.
So that's...
I wonder who that could be. I think that's my favourite art journalist.
It could possibly be. Yeah, I'm sure I'll mention when it's all done.
Yes.
But we're doing a series of tutorials for a couple of weeks, and then it goes out, I think, on Facebook, or the invitations are out on Facebook. So when we've got more information, I'm sure we'll add that to the links as well.
That sounds like fun. Art journaling's great,
and it's a good thing to do at the moment.
Yes, it's very good for mental health.
It is.
Yes.
And it's also a way of sort of creating little mini mini coronavirus diary. What did we do during the lockdown? A record of life during that time.
Doris would like that.
I bet you would, and a few pictures to go in it as well.
Yes.
Yes, I can imagine that would be right up Doris's street. So, well, had a chat with Sue Marchant yesterday.
Oh yes. How did that go?
It was really good. She asked lots of questions about the show and a little bit, what we did and why we're doing it and who you were, and she remembered who you were from previous projects.
Yeah, oh, did she? Yeah, lovely. I love Sue.
So I don't know when it's going to be out or what form it's going to be out. She says it's now just go up to the BBC to decide what they do with it now. So she didn't say it was going to be on any particular show. So hopefully she'll let us know when it's out and where.
Oh, yes. I can't wait. That'll be really good to see.
I think that'll be my first radio interview in a long time.
Yes. Yes. We could put a little snippet of it in to the show, couldn't we?
Yeah, I'm sure for legal reasons we can do a short bit. I took a video, so I've got some pictures of the event.
Oh, excellent! That's really good. And we could definitely put the recording from my player on Fenland Chat Hour.
Yeah, we can put the link to it. Yeah, that won't be a problem.
That would be good.
Yeah, we can do that when we find out if it gets used. Because I can imagine they're busy.
It will be.
There's certainly an interest, and it's nice to know that the BBC, the local BBC, have picked up on it, and they are intrigued into what we're doing, and they see it as an interesting way to help, fill in the gap between what they do and other forms of media as well. So we're kind of establishing our own sort of niche.
I think that BBC Radio Cambridgeshire are always really supportive of any initiative that's happening around the county.
Yeah.
And they want to know about it and they want to promote these ideas. I think they're great.
Yeah, and I think they do on a Monday. They do a roundup of good feeling good type programs or projects from each of the areas. So they have someone from Northampton, someone from Cambridgeshire, someone from Bedfordshire, and so each of the radio stations, the presenter comes on and said, look, we're doing this, these are the things that are going on in our region. So you never know, we may get mentioned on one of those at some point in the future.
Sounds very good to me.
So, but we seem to be big in America, so that's.
I still can't get over that.
Every time I look, there's another town or another listener pop up, which is
really?
It's brilliant. So
hello,
shout
America.
out to America. But yeah, it's just great to have. I mean, we have lots of people in Huntingdon and Wisbech and all places right across the Fenland area, and it's great to know that so many people are in this area are supporting it and they're listening.
Yes, it is. It's very good. It is for them, after all. Yes.
And that's why we're doing it for them.
Yes.
So yeah, I think we've got everything done for today. I think that's the end of it. The end of another show.
Yes, end of another show. Episode 14.
Yay.
Yay.
But yes, all good things need to come to an end, so we're going to have to finish today's, otherwise it will be another late night. Yeah, it's the internet that's slowing everything down because it's so reduced. So yeah, the podcast itself gets made very quickly, but the actual uploading it just seems to be taking longer and longer each time.
Yes. Yeah. Tough, isn't it?
Cool. All right. Well, thank you much for joining us today. It's been
Thank you.
a long production today. We've had Jodie Hicks on, being interviewed at the beginning of the show. Thank you for Jodie for joining us today. Thank you, Amanda, for being our regular co-host and support.
Thank you.
And it's time basically to say thank you for everyone listening. Be safe, be secure, stay at home, do all the good things that you've been recommended to do. And it's a goodbye from me.
Goodbye from him.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.